Why in the world would all the governments of the world be building underground cities? Preparing for what? This is a dangerous time. And so here we go. Let's ask Mike. Let's ask the main man, Mike from around the world. Mike, how you doing
Pastor
today?
Paul. Good. How you doing, Pastor Paul?
I am doing great. I want to turn you up a little bit.
All right.
Good. You sound good. You're coming in pretty good.
Great.
Mike, did you
Great,
see?
great,
Did
great.
you? Hey, listen. I'm just happy to be with you. I'm just so happy. The crowds are wonderful to hear tonight. We've got a lot of questions. We're going to talk about Middle East in a minute, but I mean, we have X-class solar flare on the sun. We have a 7.6 earthquake on that volcano in Tonga. We have a 5.7 earthquake right on that, what's called the Lassen volcano, right at the surface of the earth, and it shook everything up in California. That's about 4 hours ago. And then Laurel Wells may have captured a wave of energy. I don't know what it is. We sent it to you. Did you get that email?
Yeah, I did see it.
What did you think of that? I mean,
I did see it. Well, she caught something that that was a vertical. Think of it as a vertical compression event that happened. Yeah, it went around the entirety of the Earth. That went around the entire, like an arm that wrapped around the Earth. And normally those are not caught because they are upper atmosphere. They happen in the upper atmosphere. They're also not, they don't register in normal things they put online for people to track, data from space. So I thought that was a find of a find.
Wow.
She did a good job on that. That was
So what do you call that, Mike? A vertical impression event?
Compression. It was like a vertical compression wave, but it carries with it. It's almost like a radioactive band is what it is.
What?
Like a radioactive band. In this case, it touched the surface of the Earth.
What? So
yeah.
So it was full of radiation. You know what she said?
Yeah.
If in the email, I don't have the email in front of me, that she said that when this thing, Mike, you got the email. She said something about that when it hit, she felt like she was going to pass out or fall, or she felt real dizzy. She didn't know what was going on.
Right, because this think of it as it's almost like a horizontal tornadic activity, but with magnetic wave lines, and it's full of radiation. Right, this one dipped. That's very low and very dangerous. We'll have much more of those though. We're going to have those sweep. That event she caught will likely have a lot more of those. Right, I mean a lot more. Right now we're in the middle of a sweep. I'll call it a sweep. It started on May 6th. It'll continue through May 15th. And think of a wave, right? A wave of particulates, inbound, but very odd, very strange. It too is like an arm, and it won't be done until the 15th when they all come through here. So it's like multiple bands of particulates, radiation. It's disturbing the magnetosphere. It will mess with the sun big time. The sun is one of the major indicators, right, of any type of inbound wave coming in. Right, the sun is the best indicator that we have, and so by the 15th it should be through. But here's something: in the month of May we have, I believe it's 12 more dates in the month of May.
Wait,
for what? Some of these spikes and arms coming through, yeah.
12, so I'm 12 more dates. Is that different waves?
That's like just in the month of May.
In the month of May, we got 12 more to go. Yep. Today is the 11th of May, and you're saying we got 12 more waves.
Yes.
Now, are they vertical impression events?
Well, that was a byproduct.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
That was a byproduct.
Okay.
Here's the problem, though. Anything that messes with lower atmosphere magnetics is naturally going to mess with the mind. You have to remember something, that in Russia, they found out the hard way that without the magnetic shielding, right, the body the human body, biological animals, animals and not so much flora, but certainly animals go into a mode because their frontal lobe connections, right? Some of your neurological connections could suffer big time. This will cause a heightened state of aggression, paranoia, schizophrenia, bipolarism type of activity, right? And given the state of things in the world, keep in mind we're at war, right?
Right.
We have a war front. We have a war front with Russia and the Ukraine. We have Israel.
Yes.
Well, now it's going to be, well, we have another war front opening up in the Middle East, but we have additional war fronts. And if we have more of these phenomena that come through, and there will be, think about just one moment of a heightened state of aggression of some commander, right? Or a group of commanders who actually have authorization to fire some pretty big weapons. Um, they could literally begin something on that date. Iran is a wild card right now,
Right.
right now,
Right.
and they are highly active. Um, Turkey is highly active. Saudi Arabia is paying for quite a bit. I mean, they are paying for things on three fronts. So given this month alone, the aggression could go off the scales, Pascal. Somebody, Putin could do it. Somebody from
Yeah.
the Ukraine could do it. Somebody from Turkey could do it. Saudi Arabia could do it. But somebody is going
What about
probably will
Pakistan?
engage.
What about was it Pakistan that the former prime minister was arrested, and there's some chaos. It's like an internal coup between groups in Pakistan.
Yeah, people might want to get ready for. I hate to say this, but they're going to have to put nations in a heightened state of readiness for nuclear mitigation.
Wow.
So back to the Cold War,
Right.
except this time we have rogue nations who have that technology.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're not just dealing with the United States and Russia. We're
No,
dealing with a whole world. But we
yes, we are.
got some inconsistent. We got some nations that are vulnerable with nuclear capability.
Yeah,
Uh,
for a long time, Pascal, they painted a picture as though uh, our policy, U.S. foreign policy, dictated how the world was actually set up. I think that people are finding out a bit different now.
right.
That there's an outside world that, by way of propaganda, people have been blinded to, and the situation is a bit more tenuous than any of us would like. One example is all the attacks in Israel, and they have exercised enormous restraint. But do you not know that larger missiles have come into Israel and not from Hezbollah, not from the Gaza Strip? Those were Iranian-made missiles, and they penetrated Iron Dome.
Okay. Are you talking about out of these 800 have been fired tonight? Some of them were not really from Islamic
Yeah,
Jihad.
there was one that was not from Gaza. Its trajectory
Yeah.
places it going right back to some of these locales of Iran that are placed throughout the Middle East. That was an Iranian missile, right? They
Okay.
have the fragments. They know it's an Iranian missile. It was a big boy, and so it penetrated. Iron Dome hit it, and it still hit the target.
Wow.
So
So that
yeah,
happened tonight. That's happened today.
that was that hit in the central. That hit right in the middle of Israel, where nobody expects to be hit. So now we have a new problem forming, and they've all even right now they're talking. They're saying that they're going to have to send a message because it cannot go unanswered. Right? That's going to bring a lot of additional tension in the Middle East almost immediately.
Now, Israel waited. I mean, you had the guy that starved himself to death on the hunger strike. He was the Islamic jihadist, a Palestinian, and he died in Israel's custody. Well, Israel, of course, says, "What do you want us to do?" I mean, the guy wouldn't eat. Okay, they fired 300 rockets into Israel before Israel even made a move. Israel waited.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but still, I watch the mainstream media, and they don't cover that. They don't say that. They just say Israel is killing 4 of the Islamic jihadist leaders, and and they don't say it's in defense of their nation. They never do. It's always like Israel's the aggressor. What do you think will they say if they go after Iran or go after the location? Maybe it
It'll
was in
be
Syria. Maybe but go after the gunner or the group that fired that missile, that long range one.
it'll be inexcusable naturally. If that's why Israel waited, by the way, right? To give because they understand the sentiment of the nation surrounding them, right?
Right.
And so they did exercise great restraint, and they allowed those missiles, to come in there, which, by the way, it burns up a lot of money. But they did that so that the world would not do what they normally do. When Israel, missile for missile or life for life, if they ever did that, of course, the world will take the side of anybody who's against Israel. That should let everybody who's watching mainstream media understand that, by and large, the USA is with or side by side with UN policy. Right. So that's United Nations policy, which, by the way, right now the paperwork says that Jerusalem is already divided up in multiple sections, and they're about to hand that over to different bunch of different nations. That's just not. That's going to be headed up by the Vatican or governed by the Vatican. Uh,
Really? Are you
so that yes,
serious?
yeah, they're going to put because they have all those different types of worship,
Yeah.
and you have elements within Israel right now. They're fighting this, but
Yeah.
it's almost a losing battle. It gives insight to prophecy, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have that issue over there. So right now, Israel has no allies. They have no allies. They have business partners. But if you look very closely, no one has really tied themselves to Israel as
No.
a true guard of Israel, right? It's always conditional. And so we have the UN, who is, the USA enforces UN policy throughout the world as what people should look at now, because the UN is not just some organization that's not going to do anything. The UN is, that's Reagan's idea there. You know what I'm,
Oh yeah.
giving word to.
Yes.
And it's actually underway. In fact, 70% of the policies of the world, they come from the UN. Nobody makes a
That's right.
combat move without UN approval. And so this realignment of forces that we see in the Middle East and throughout the world, Israel has no allies. They have business partners. And so long as they have some mutual effect where people can get something out of Israel, they'll be okay, but that's not going to last long,
No.
because Iran is changing the dynamic in the Middle East, and Turkey is, Turkey's a very dangerous nation. They're playing two parts right now. They think they're number one in the Islamic kingdom, number one, but they're also reestablishing the Ottoman Empire openly now,
Right.
and they're also playing with Eurasia and European policies, establishing those in the Middle East for the sake of advantage, right? Um, they're going to force Western influence out of the Middle East, period, and it's happening every single day at a pretty fast rate.
Unbelievable. I mean, but you're right. This we're watching the aggressiveness of Turkey. We see an alliance being formed: Turkey, Russia, Iran, um, you know, Syria, other Middle Eastern nations. Jordan. Jordan's always, backstabbing. So Saudi Arabia, you can't trust them, like you've said. And then you got
No.
the unstable nations:
Yeah.
Sudan, Yemen, Libya, Ethiopia. Those guys are all so shaky, but they harbor. They're infested with jihadis. So, oh, I was going to ask you a question. Now, last night, President Donald Trump did a town hall on CNN of all places, uh, which was incredible. But the thing is, Trump made a statement. He said, Russia, Ukraine, he said, I could end this war. If I was president, this war would end in 24 hours. I promise you, 24 hours, all it would take. How can he, in your maybe your intel or your information or your how in the world could he make a statement like that? What has he got over both these nations, or what is his? How do you see that?
Well, it's not really that. It's commanding. It's actually forcing NATO to back off on certain policies they have. Is what that is, right? He remember when he came in, he made these countries pay,
Yes.
basically,
Yes.
right? So he told the entire world that the United States of America were basically, global police, is what he told them. And, we're offering our services and everybody has to pay up. Well, if he goes and calls the bill for all of that, which he, by all rights, the USA can do, that would cause NATO to back off of what they're doing. And what would happen is that Ukraine would have no choice but to uh, give up that land. President Trump does not favor the Ukraine. He
Right.
does not.
He doesn't.
And so that's where this would happen, because he would it'd be somewhat of a forced ending, give the guys an ultimatum. Right now, this even in my opinion, this people really look into this. This is one of the most senseless
You're right.
engagements I've ever seen. It is it's a senseless engagement. There are other ways to establish political bounds. It's not the way to go to war. And now the entire world is pulled into this war, right? I believe that's what they want in the first place. War is a good machine for several reasons. Now that we have some of the Baltic states entering into it, right? Because there are two war fronts that will form at least within a 2-week period. And so we're going to have other nations at war. And the USA, with their committal of bringing new equipment into the Ukraine, not a good idea, because what this will do is broaden what Russia's actually doing, right? Now, whether anybody knows it or not, the rhetoric is not working. The world is beginning to side with Russia against the Ukraine and the West.
Yes.
Because the Ukraine repeats word for word everything the U.S. utters, right? So the Ukraine almost looks like a puppet to the USA.
Yep.
And so the dynamic is changing, right? And everybody should really get ready for, a resurrected campaign of nuclear preparedness. But this time it won't be a joke, because we have small tactical nukes that will likely be used. We have other types of weapons that cause radiation. We're going to have a radiation problem anyway. Yes. And that will no doubt happen in the season of this volcanic explosion. We're going to have we have a lot of geological activity that's just waiting for something to tip it, right? Because we have these massive influences from space, we're going to have some changes in geology, right? We're going to have an escalation in how things are going, and breathing is going to be right at the top of the bullet list when it comes to preparations. People are going to have to think about the breathing. Yes.
Is it because of this ash environment?
More like black smoke and ash, right? There's already ash in the atmosphere, by the way. It never stops, and it's beginning to accumulate, right? Bad part about ash is when it gets up into the storm systems, it intensifies lightning by at least 800-900%.
So ash is like a conductor for electricity.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's because it contains its makeup. It's almost like powdered mica. Right? It is glass, silicon, but it's almost like powdered mica in the atmosphere, which can actually hold plasma and discharge it or pass it along. So you're going to have a lot more static potential in the atmosphere, more than we've ever seen on this earth, right? That means, fastball, we're going to have storms where lightning will be the number one threat over anything else. Imagine if we had a storm that yielded 28 tornadoes, right? And each tornado was half a mile wide. I can guarantee you that people would fear the plasma discharges or lightning more than the tornadoes, right?
Are you
much
serious?
More than that.
They would
Yes.
be more because you're saying
yes.
Even though the tornadoes are big, the lightning would be so devastating, so
Yes,
dangerous.
yes.
Because we're
That
seeing
much.
more of that. We're seeing more
That's
thunderbolts almost.
that's right. And with the introduction of ash, right? Ash will settle to the ground. Lightning begins in the ground.
Yeah, it goes
And
up.
it makes its way up. So you have an electrical connection, essentially, that's made. And then you see the after effects. But with the introduction of volcanic ash, which is, different type particles, and we already have atmospheric compression, which is why you see major storms at lower altitudes causing these, tornadoes in mountains.
Yeah.
That's what you're
What
seeing there.
about that? A tornado on
You're
top
seeing
of.
that potential.
Did
Yeah.
you see that picture of the tornado on top of the mountain in Montana?
Yeah, it's not going to be the last. These are phenomena that will not be. You know how sometimes you have a weather phenomena that won't come back for another 50 to 100
100
years.
years?
Well,
Yep.
it's going to be quite normal because with the compression event, with more particulates in the upper atmosphere,
Are being
you're
pushed
going to
down.
have. That's right. You're going to have storms at all levels, major storms, fastball. We're also going to have. We don't see sprites, right? Because we're underneath a cumulonimbus or storm clouds. You don't see sprites in the upper atmosphere. We're getting to a point where people will see sprites. Sprites are dangerous. Sprites are very destructive, right? Normally they
Yes.
go out into space, and space handles, or the ionosphere will handle everything else, some of that dissipation of it. You get them low enough, there's no dissipation for all that heat. You're talking about something that's hotter than the sun forming at the top of clouds. That heat discharge is going to do nothing but supercharge this problem we have here on this earth.
So,
So get ready for some major dynamic changes.
so okay, we got this. We have these charged particles being pushed down as the atmospheric compression. This is creating more powerful storms, more electrifying thunderbolts. Ash environment will be hard to breathe. Um, it, it also, I guess my question would be: is Planet X Nibiru? I mean, is this the arrival of this thing as it gets closer to us? Is that's what shaking everything? Is that's what causing all of this binary system?
Well, it's certainly causing enough, right? We're gonna have those influences in any binary system. You have that particle exchange with the two suns themselves. So the inbound sun will normally charge off of the charged sun, or the seeable sun, and at some point during their highest point of exchange, you're going to have a photon redirect, which means no light particles are going to touch this Earth, not in that light band near white, right? The only thing left is we're in that red band. That'll be infrared. We'll see. Not really just red harmless light. We're going to have infrared issues. So with all the other photons being redirected, given that infrared is of a certain wavelength, we're going to see that on the moon. We're going to see it on the Earth. We're going to see it in every tree and everything else. Imagine if somebody if you go into a room and put a red light bulb in, right?
Yeah.
Turn that light bulb on, everything is red. That's how
Right.
the Earth is going to look. That's
Okay.
exactly what will happen.
So that's why you've been talking about sunsets will be more golden, sunrises more golden, more. Oh no,
Now
I think. Go ahead.
that'll take place because in the atmosphere, even right now in the atmosphere, we have a buildup of these particle collisions, which is going to cause the auroras, right? Some of these lights to form, causing clouds to be luminous, more colorful, right? Plus, we have that density increase in the upper atmospheres, causing clouds to really be, pretty full at lower altitudes,
Hmm.
and so that's going to make for brilliant pictures, right? At sunset and sunrise.
It's also going to make for rain bombs. I mean, larger amounts because they're dark and they're
We're going to have a
low.
lot of rain. Yeah,
Right, right.
lots of rain.
They're holding a lot of
That's a
water.
lot of tonnage. The average cloud holds, you're talking about hundreds of tons or thousands of tons of water in a cloud. And with dust, rain comes when particulates fill up that cloud. Water molecules surround around it, they eventually fall. In this case, we have a lot of particulates coming into the atmosphere. We have a constant stream of dust coming inbound to the Earth, right? So that will continue to build up. All this is going to continue to build up until it hits that point where the air is is harmful, very harmful, right? I wouldn't be surprised right now people with bronchitis or respiratory issues are having a difficult time because of some of the particulates that are being introduced, right? If anybody is doing if they work the medical billing, then they understand why certain, most of the bills are going towards this respiratory area from infections and things like that. Respiratory infections
Right.
are extremely high. That means kids, and because of the radiation and magnetic changes that we're going through, it's known to the human body to cause the body to be allergic to dust, for example, right? So expect a lot of children who are between the age of, I'll say 2 and maybe 2 and 11 to just all of a sudden adopt an allergic reaction to dust itself, severe reactions.
So we're going to have a lot more allergies and nasal sinus infections, more bronchial,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and so people are going to be thinking it's just the pollen's getting higher, and maybe the pollen is getting higher. I mean, from all of this, um, so it seems like it's going to get worse and worse. And has HARP got anything to do with this? I mean, is there any more, or this is really just beyond HARP or uh, seeding of clouds and some of the
No,
manipulation?
I tell you what. Normally, I stay away from heart pass ball because a lot of people have a YouTube education, right?
Right.
And if anybody who actually worked on that system were to come out and start telling people about it, they wouldn't be able to make heads or tails, right? So it's kind of one of those mute subjects where
Sounds like
if you
it sounds like that we're identifying the real problem is the incoming binary system that's affecting the sun and the atmosphere and the volcanoes and everything. I mean, to get real here, this is
yeah,
beyond mankind.
yeah, because man is going to break down in most of his technology, and it's going to get worse, right? One thing they did with HARP was they tried their best. They tried their best to mitigate some of the heat coming in, some of the more harmful X-rays and things like that coming into the Earth. They tried to see the atmosphere, so to speak, with small reflective particles, right, to reflect back
Yes.
the infrared.
Is that the
Had
chemtrails? Is that what part of this chemtrails was?
Yeah, if they didn't, but I know chemtrails are dangerous, right?
Yeah.
But if they don't reflect that light, people are going to start getting radiation sickness in less than a week. That would happen. And if you notice, they haven't been spraying like they used to, right?
No, that's right.
That's because they have a new type of, they have a new tactic, right? That does not use HARP at all. HARP is okay for other experiments in the upper atmosphere, so they can test launches and things like that in atmospheric interactions. But there are other devices, right? Devices that no one, well, I haven't heard anybody speak of that can actually, they can make a cloud, Johnny on the spot. They can make a storm cloud in about 1 minute and make it, form a thunderstorm in about a minute, right?
Wow.
But you can, with all this technology, you can actually see where it comes from, right? Something's not natural when you look on Doppler and the storm clouds are forming by way of a stream in one area, right? And the only reason I know about it is because well, think of rocket ships or spaceships, right? Their launch pad, all that hydrogen and oxygen goes up in the air. When they blow off that excess fuel, guess what happens? It begins to rain an hour later because all that goes up into the atmosphere and it becomes essentially a cloud. That cloud picks up dust and it starts raining possibly maybe a couple of minutes later, right? They also have done this to force a low pressure system to get rid of high pressure systems and vice versa. When it comes to HARP, though, HARP has been broken more times than it's been operational. That's what a lot of people don't quite get that.
Yeah.
And cloud seeding, right? Cloud
Yeah.
seeding only works inside of storms that are either already formed. They have to seal with water, things of that nature. So that's the extent of that. They have other things, yes. But people have to keep in mind they're trying to protect themselves. They don't want to kill themselves, and they can't go to heaven. These people are not going to heaven. The only place they have is Earth. So they're doing everything they can to protect themselves, right? A lot of people say, well, they're trying to kill us. Well, they're no good at their job if they're trying to do that, because we've been around for a long time. That means they can't do anything with all technology they have. Anyway,
That's a
they're
good
trying
point.
to protect themselves.
Right.
Is what they're doing. That's why CERN, some of CERN's experiments, they give off this big magnetic shielding, right? That will stave off radiation in the event of a nuclear explosion. Now, that's something that is one of the greatest breakthroughs in defense anybody has ever seen. If they started those same magnets inside the USA and a nuclear weapon went off, they could essentially blow the radiation outward, causing magnetic bands to take that radiation right into the water or back out in the atmosphere. That's amazing technology, right? That's what CERN has yielded so far, besides their other experiments. But they want to protect themselves, Pascal, and it's not working so well. Right? It's just not working so well.
Wow.
Everything they're doing is breaking down internally, right? Because there is I'll say it again, someone is coming to the forefront, and that someone's civilization has already been established. We just don't know it yet. They're among us, right? There are people right now who are loyal to a different type system that is not some democracy, and anything goes in this system. The guy who runs this, he's coming to the forefront. Period.
You're talking about the New World Order, this new kingdom.
He's coming to the forefront.
All right.
You accidentally, hypothetically, I saw a book of policies that would blow anybody away. If they looked at these policies,
you saw a book of
they
policies.
would blow you away. They would just blow the average individual away.
Is this a global book of policies? Is this?
Yeah.
You saw one.
Yeah.
And is it being put together by some of the secret societies?
Well, it's already put together.
Is it
It's already done.
Is the world dancing to this sheet of music?
Well, I have a feeling that these sets of policies, right? This package is going to come forward. This is software. We're talking about software loaded. Everything is preloaded, right? Directives. You're talking about everything. And so I just use that word hypothetical and all these other words. But
I understand.
When this system comes into play, Pascal, listen, in order to give everybody what they want, right? Imagine something. Imagine the world is happy, right? We're not talking about communism.
I got you.
Though it is like communism.
Right.
But imagine everybody is happy because everybody receives an income who is part of this new
this universal income thing.
This new state.
Right? That says we're all going to share, we're all going to have equality and justice, and this is this.
Well, here's the weird part, though.
Yeah.
They'll still breed competition, but the major driver, right? The major driver is going to be loyalty. Not so much because innovation is going to be a given. How is innovation going to be a given? Because they have held back so much from everybody, right? They don't need to develop anything else. All they have to do is bring things to the forefront.
Yeah, so the entrepreneur spirit won't be needed because they've got their hands around upcoming technology that's good enough to push us for 50 years.
They don't need. That's right. They don't need to invent anything else.
So your social credit score is going to be more important on how you can achieve a little more or get a little extra is by following the culture credit score.
Everything will be supportive, right? So imagine if everybody cares about that place, about the state, right?
Yep.
They don't have the same problems we have. They care about this place. If everybody cares about it, they're going to tell on each other. So imagine a civilization, right, where everybody really cares about they're just patriotic about this place. And if somebody comes in and tries to sabotage, because they'll have entertainment, they'll have capitalism and everything else, right? They'll have capitalism. That's why you can't quite see it as communism.
Right.
But they'll have all these elements in there.
It's a hybrid. It's a communist hybrid.
But the major point
is it the global elitists are really running the show and everyone else is a slave to the system. Is that true?
Well, you're going to have. They've been doing that for a long time. But think of this as a new phase, a new installment of a phase that will just blow your mind, because they've had a lot of time to think of everything. They already know who they have to phase out, right? So how do you phase people out? You send them to war. To phase countries out, to phase people out, you send them to war. One of the big things is this: Has anybody ever read of Satan killing large amounts of people in the Bible? I never read that before.
No, no.
Always read that God sent plagues,
Yeah,
that the Lord was sending. I never read about Satan killing just a bunch of people,
no.
right? So they follow that same guideline today. They themselves will not kill anybody. So what they do is they get people, right, or elements or whatever, to kill people. But those people who are killed, they have to, it's almost like they have to invite the killing
Yeah.
themselves. War is a good place for that because people are patriotic. Things that are happening right now, people will kill themselves over. When the white trains are running because people can't get their favorite soups, that's going to continue to establish some type of duress. The only issue that's going to mess everything up is geology.
Geology.
Yes.
Your bloodline. The bloodlines.
Well, no, geology meaning the earth.
Oh, you're
That's
talking
going to
about,
mess
the
everything up.
Earth. The only
Yeah,
thing
we're going to get.
okay. The only thing, I thought you said genealogies. Okay, so the only thing that it's going to, the Earth and all the effects on the Earth is the only thing that's going to maybe mess the plan up a little bit, that the cabal has in order. You've seen, when you say you've seen the secret set of prophecies, policies, this is significant. I mean, is this sheet of music being used right now? Is there people following it right now?
You know what it looks like? It does.
Is that
You know what it looks like? Here's what it looks like. You have the populace, right?
right?
And in the populace, you have different classes of people who
Yes.
follow the old system. They follow what they believe the system is.
Right.
That's what people do. People follow what they believe the system is. But you have the actual ones who control the numbers, who control the money, who control everything, right? They set the standard for everybody else. They're already going by something that is nothing like it should be, right? In my opinion, it is not democracy. It's something else. The people cannot see it. The only way the people are going to see it is when they're forced to operate by it, right? So here's what I believe. I believe this because geology is getting bad. For example, I'm tracking 6 large volcanoes that I have a pretty high certainty.
Is Tonga?
This is by data.
Is Tonga one of them? Because
Tonga will blow. Tonga's gonna blow, but
Yeah.
we have 6 more in addition to that that
Okay.
are quite, they're quite extraordinary. But these things, based on data, they're gonna go. They're gonna go. Right?
Yeah.
When they do go, they're gonna cause a pretty big shaking in the earth. So in that event, we're gonna have neighborhoods lost, cities that are sitting, they're going to sink in the ground. All sorts of things will happen with this because the earth, that crustal displacement,
Yes.
It's already beginning. It's already happening. We had 2 cracks in the Atlantic yet again, right? A large thump in the North Pacific Ocean. That was down probably about 100 miles east of Tamaulipas, northeast lip. So we have cracks there. Japan ought to get ready, but God is merciful. I believe God's mercy is the only thing holding things up. In Mexico, we have issues, big issues in Mexico. So I expect them to have 2 volcanic eruptions,
Wow.
sustained volcanic eruptions coming. That means more fire for them, which may just, that may speed up China's plans for Mexico, or it could slow them down. In the USA, on the West Coast is lined with ancient volcanoes. Ancient. I believe those 2 will go. Now, here's why I believe this by the data. The pressure has never been this high inside of those measured points of the earth, right?
Wow.
We've never had so many cracks, brand new cracks form, brand new fault lines are forging themselves. Saltwater intrusion is starting all in just about every single country. Russia is losing all its permafrost. They're going to have a pretty big eruption here pretty soon. And Italy is going to have a pretty big eruption here soon, right? So in the middle of this chaos, when people are losing homes and they're losing, possessions and things, they're going to have to reorder everything. Right? Everything's going to have to be reordered. Somebody's going to have to put things back together again. And they will, because it's not going to be the end of the earth. It will certainly deface the earth. But then we have a problem in the heavens. People are going to have to deal with a lot of black smoke from inbound, that cluster that's coming in, this meteor storm, right?
Right.
We went through this meteor storm 3 times already That was since Christ. We're about to go through it again. And normally the effects of that meteor storm last for about 10 to 12 to 13 years. Okay, there are trees in the rings. They had no light for 10 years. The trees had no light for 10 years. The rings, the trees stopped growing for 10 years. And this is over, you're talking about, you're looking at a space that covers almost the entirety of the earth. So something happened back, and then it happened again, and then it happened again. And so here we are, we sit at the precipice of this, right? Which is why, was it a couple of days ago, they reported 5 people's homes were destroyed by meteorites, right? The insurance companies made that known to the world because the numbers are growing. Remember, we used to talk about that.
Yep.
Well, the numbers are increasing. More homes are being destroyed.
Yep.
By meteorites.
By meteor.
So
ever so often for hitting, a town or something, landing in the middle of people.
Right.
A lot of them land, of course, as you know, you've been telling us this, a lot of these meteorites land in the oceans because there's more oceans than there is land.
That's right.
But yeah,
right.
You're saying we're going to have an event we haven't seen in a while that's going to be a 12 or 13-year event going through a meteor storm that's going to send fire and brimstone down on the earth. And it's going to be, there's no hiding it. There'll be no hiding it. And let me ask you a couple more things because the Earth's going to go through all this transformation. There's 2 major things that's happened this week that really is shaking the order of things. And I'm going to ask you about them. That's the Biden family and all the wire transfers now that has been being revealed, and a lot more to come from what I'm hearing. As many as 9 to 12 Biden family members getting wire transfers, peddling influence probably. And number 2, King Charles, and his coordination. And did something happen there? They wouldn't let us see the anointing of him. That was weird. And also the Grim Reaper, I don't know if you saw that Grim Reaper crossing the path in Westminster Abbey, which is one of the most freakiest things I've seen. Is something happened? Has there been a shift in the order of things with Biden being exposed? Yet I don't think there'll be any accountability here, and King Charles III in position now. And he's a big player. I mean, let's face it, he's big with.
He's the player. He's the player.
Okay,
right now
he's
the player. He's the player. That place where he's at, there, right? Anybody from that area, I don't mean to offend you because you may be patriotic behind those figures, but that place has entities in it all throughout that place.
Wow.
Entities. Right.
I think we saw one. Did you see that?
It's a very
yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a possibility. I didn't get to see it.
Oh,
but it's a possibility, Pascal.
Yeah.
It's a big possibility because there's a notable influence in that place, right? You're not going to have an old place like that with that much power, that much ability to command, and entities are not, basically principalities in that place. So I believe that place is governed by a certain type of or a set of entities that are really about to show their hand. I do believe. I felt it when I went to that place. You can feel that there's a change, right? It's almost like things.
Have you been there, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's almost like something acts against your faith, but for you at the same time.
Whoa.
Right?
Okay.
So it's an impressive place by way of its history, its culture, and everything else. That's an impressive place. But it's something is also not is spiritually against you. It's almost like a subduance. It feels like a heaviness, a heavy subduance. Well, you already know what that feeling is.
Yeah.
So. But it's pretty heavy in that place, and it fluctuates, from place to place. Think of it as if you've ever been to if people have been to the White House. When you go into the White House, there's also this same type of awe and a bit of spiritual caution there, right? Because that place is rich in history. But there are things there too. There's a darkness that just can't be removed from that place, right? Just in case you don't know, do you not know that no president there are certain places they will not go to in the White House. They won't sleep there, right? They won't do it. They just won't do it because a person will get no rest. They're harassed. Some entity is always cursing up and down the hallways in the middle of the night. Did you know that?
No.
That's a fact. So Yeah, the White House has its things too. Of course, I believe this. I believe that God appoints. He has allowed these principalities and powers to be in specific places, which is why people feel different going place to place, house to house. There's an entity ruling that place or over that darkness in that place, right? Of which they don't have power over us. We have God gave us power over all the power of the enemy. So no redeemed individual should be afraid of that stuff. But you can sense it, right? You can
Yes.
feel it.
Yes.
And that if people are operating outside of the blood of the Lamb in those places, there's just no way they're going to avoid that, right? They're going to be under that influence, period. And there are things underneath the White House, too. Don't ever think it's just this pretty place up top. It's a very, you could call it a hive underneath, a real hive connected to multiple hives underneath.
Okay, so so down in the bowels of the White House, there are tunnels. They're connecting to other hives.
There's a lot down there. Oh yeah,
It's a lot more than just tunnels.
it's a marvel. It's a true marvel. It's a true marvel.
Wow.
It's a lot down there. So it's a lot down there.
So
But
so when King Charles uh, received this coordination, big deal, big deal. I've heard you say that the world needed a king with authority. He's the king of the
yep,
British Empire.
yep.
He's tied in with the great reset with Klaus Schwab and with some of the other big players. He's a globalist for sure, for sure, for sure. A new world
Yes,
order
he
guy.
is. Yes, he is.
Is he going to bring? Is he going to bring forth some things that's going to change the order of things on the earth?
Yes, yes, he's already doing it. Number one, he demands loyalty.
Yes.
He also demands his subjects to bow to him.
Yeah, he said that. Yes.
Okay, so he's not we're not talking about some individual that's from the USA who just lets things go. No, they have protocol. He enforces that. He expects that. Number two is they couldn't do anything without a king, right? Without a king, they can't make their declarations. Now, back in the old days, in the ancient days, like King Nebuchadnezzar, when he made a declaration, not only was it for the public use, right, and governmental use, but it also governed the faith. A
Yeah.
king, when a
Yeah.
king makes a declaration, it not only operates in this realm, but it also operates in the spiritual realm. And that's the difference between a king and anybody else. So watch carefully what he denotes, what he emphasizes, and what he says, because when he makes a declaration, guaranteed, even those dark entities are going to line up behind what he's saying for the sake of
Right.
that kingdom. So yeah, they have the king. Personally, when it comes to people like that who are well, anyway, thank you, Lord, for saving my life. Those folks have a long way to go, but I'll say this, Pastor Paul, because we have a king, right, and because there are certain dates concerning Israel that are
Right.
right there on the mark, right?
Right.
That same date, that same year span overlaps the new king. That is
Mm.
so odd, right?
Mm.
So, how in the world did that happen? Did we all of a sudden, because that he's a king by way of a death, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
everything aligned itself so that the years are precise and they overlap. That's not the only thing that overlaps. So there's a lot of overlapping concerning these times, right? It's quite amazing. We start looking into the times, the year spans. Anyway, there's some changes coming almost immediately, right? Almost immediately.
I think we see
To my
that.
understanding, he's already made some military declarations that have been carried out with a snap of a finger, and not for his own country, for other countries. I mean, his influence and his reach is far reaching, which is why I said that the USA, this governmental civil war that we're in right now, that the USA is in, we're going to have more of a council instead of an appointed president type figure, right?
We're almost
We'll have
we're
more of a
almost there
council than
now.
anything else.
Let's talk about
Yeah,
Biden. Let's talk about Joe Biden and all these wire transfers. They know now. They went in the back door. They didn't go and subpoena the Biden's bank records. They went and subpoenaed the guy who's distributing the money that's coming from the foreign entities, the foreign nationals. Obviously, it's influence peddling, selling influence, but I think they're selling more than that. The money's too big, and they got so much money they had to try to figure out cousins and grandkids to send it to. I mean, have the United States of America are we so compromised now
There you
to
go.
China that
There you go.
there's no return, or there's no way to get out of this?
There you go. Because just not Biden. I mean, if they turn the books over for
Anybody.
that entire, yeah, you'd find that same type of linkage. And it's very unfortunate that policy in the USA is largely governed by powerful corporations, period. Right?
Right, right.
They're feeding everybody, and nobody's going to go without their money. They can say what they want, but they need that money. All right, so every policy they come up with, some policy is going to benefit one of those corporations that have power over them, right?
Right.
And so that goes back to the World Forum, right? You're looking at those individuals who actually are running everything because they govern how things function and operate, this, that, and the other. Hunter Biden, of course, he has his issues, and
Right.
he's bought some junk to that family. But as far as the presidency itself, I find it to be and at this point, it doesn't even matter if only good came from that government. The problem is you're looking at a longevity issue. And what I mean by that is, suppose Biden did everything right from this day forward, right?
Yeah.
He has an expiration date. He's already
Yeah.
feeling the effects of age itself.
Yes,
He
he
can't
is.
carry this on, is the problem. So even if you had confidence in him, right, there's no guarantee that he's going to be able to continue what he begins. And nobody wants somebody to build their house who's going to die the first day they put a nail in the wood,
No,
right?
no.
Nobody wants that. You want that same person to finish the entire job. And so we're running into this same thing. I personally, I think that sometimes when we get to a certain point, we have to take a step back, reassess, and just let things go. Because what will eventually happen, what I see happening right now, is there's a cognitive disconnect with individuals like that
Yes.
that will naturally carry on a policy, carry on to another country's faith of our nation, right?
Yes.
How we're trusted. Integrity is lost, not on purpose, but because you simply can't. You can't have all that information and manage all that information. The older we get, we start forgetting. The machine starts to break down. Right? Even Abraham, he had issues too when he was old. So did Moses. He's walking around. I think he got lost. Well, they thought it was lost anyway. Age, we get old, and you're just not as quick as you should be.
Not.
So there's no confidence there. But there's no confidence there, and there's nobody else. There'll be 3 candidates coming out from the Democratic side. I believe 4 candidates or 5.
Okay, let's talk.
5 candidates will come out from the Republican side.
Okay.
But here's the issue we have this time. We have a lot of kids, right? Kids do not connect with anything grounded. Not some of the ideologies these kids have is not very grounded in some of those things that the old Democratic regime was grounded.
So are you calling these candidates kids, or are you talking about just some of the voting?
No. Well, there are going to be some kids. There are going to be some kids as candidates.
Yeah.
But there's a demand, even among those who are in these corporations, right? Corporations make money based on the desires of the populace.
Right.
So they want people to drool for things, right? And they tend to provide those things that people drool over. They get people hooked. Well, there's a different demand out there. The entire dynamic is altered, which makes me very estranged to this 2024 process. It's going to be very different if we get to that point at all. We're also going to have some challenges prior to that. I don't know how that's going to happen.
You think about Biden's age, the cognitive capability. You see Dianne Feinstein today, literally rolling her in. They got to get her in there because they're getting ready to pick a bunch of judges.
Yeah,
she's the head of this committee, and they literally are propping this woman up there. She's about 90. They're rolling her in on a wheelchair, and we've got some elderly. And God bless our elderly population. I'll be one soon. The point is, we're it's like we got placeholders. Okay, we just got placeholders, mannequins.
You said it. That's a good name right there. Yeah.
And so somebody else is calling the shots. These people are just placeholders. It's really sad. I mean, and these folks seem like they can't get to quit. I mean, they can't even retire. They're not allowed to retire. Is that possible?
Well, in a lot of cases, that's true. Once you sign one of those life contracts, they own you. pretty
Yeah.
much. I think of it, Pascal, these people get used to a certain lifestyle, right?
Right.
You can threaten a person with a gun, torture, whatever. That's not going to faze them. You say, I'm going to take your money away. You're going to have to live like, that lower class over there. They say, oh, what do you need? Right? Because
I
if
know.
it's the one thing they will not lose is money. They become a severe slave to money, right?
Yep.
They even get to a point where they don't care what they have to pass. Because in my opinion, all you have to do is listen. And it seems like everybody who shows up on television is an actor, right?
Yeah.
They're just actors. They're acting because they agree. They'll agree with one side one day, disagree with it the next day, agree with it. They're feeding people drama stew because that's what people want, this drama stew.
Drama
Once you
stew.
no longer have an appetite for drama stew, you can actually see what's actually going on. That's when you find out that our country is in trouble, big time. And I mean big time because we're looking at a total collapse and the elimination of what democracy used to be. It's been redefined, right?
Yes, it is.
Redefined. This summer, for example, I think it's a couple weeks. In a couple weeks, those rolling blackouts will begin.
Coming. They're coming.
They're
Is that to get us prepared to live with less, to get used to the fact that we're gonna have to turn our thermostats up in the summer and down in the winter, that we're gonna have to learn how to sacrifice, and this just whether we need to or not. I mean, is there some of that going on, retraining us, putting the hamster on the wheel kind of thing?
Think of it this way. Suppose, I'm going to give you something hypothetical.
Okay.
That's true. It's going to be very true. Suppose energy never mattered in the first place. It never mattered. Never mattered.
Okay.
Right? Listen, I mean, it did not matter. For example, they have an electrical engine the size of both your fists, right?
Okay.
724 horsepower. That can run from 12 volts at about 6 amps. Now, somebody do the math on that one.
Wow.
Just do the math. The size of your two fists, 700 plus horsepower that runs from 12 volts at a max of 6 amps. Do the math on that.
How?
That doesn't line up with dynamics, does it?
No, it doesn't.
That's a feedback system that they have had for a long time, right? That's a feedback system.
Feedback system on energy.
That's right.
They've been holding
that means
back.
that little 12 volts times 6 amps equals watts. That wattage going into that motor, right? It's not lost through a certain, and it's not 0 point energy either. It's harnessing what's already available, right? In other words, you're not letting energy go. You're just giving it back to something, picking it up from somewhere else. So working with the balance. They've been doing this for a long time. So you can actually multiply the wattage or the potential of that, whatever it is, that battery. You can multiply that by factors. Possible. They know this. So energy does not matter, right? That's more of a control mechanism. If you make people believe that something really matters, you can cause people to be enslaved with an ideology that if they don't do this, people die or nobody makes it.
Right.
So I'm telling you right now, energy does not matter, but you're looking at a control system. In this control system, you have lots of ideologies. And if you start looking behind the curtain, you find it not for the wild stuff, right? Everybody wants to find 0 point energy and fusion power. Don't look for that. Look for something simple.
Right.
When you start looking for the simple things, that's where you start finding out, wait a minute, you don't have to, for example, the idea of 0 point energy, people say, well, there's no 0 point energy. Well, good, because we don't need it. All you have to do is increase the efficiency of what already exists. And then you nullify all that, demand effect.
Right.
They've done this. They did this back in the 30s and 40s, and they've already done that. But it's a control. Our entire society is based off people operating in a specific way, people wanting a certain thing, right? They get people used to it. Somebody gets raised in that. They're essentially a prisoner in a system.
Yeah, now they want to take away the dishwashers. They're saying that they use too much water.
That's right.
And so in other words,
and what is that preparation for, though? That's for the new system, because people are about to start worshiping something very different.
Yeah.
Very different. This problem down at the border, for example. Right?
Yeah,
a lot of people think that's over immigration. But do they understand who's making the fentanyl? Do they understand the troop activity that goes on in Mexico?
Nope.
Do they understand that's China? Do they understand that there's military equipment in Mexico right now that belongs to China?
Nope.
And that they're going to make a move at some point If China comes over that border, forget about the immigration. China comes over that border in force. We're in trouble because what do we have there? We have Fort Hood, but they're dispatched in several different places, right? So when you start seeing military grade vehicles down there and tanks, you don't
Yep.
need a tank for immigration.
No.
I mean, what are you going to do with a tank, right?
Right.
But you start seeing that type battle equipment down there at the border. Guaranteed, that's when they move everybody away from the border because of some natural disaster. But in truth, a war is going to break out. Some of the drug runners, they were calling drug runners. It's a known fact that those cartels were actually, most of that cartel was in uniform,
Yeah.
moving boxes from ships. Those are shipping containers coming in, right?
Right.
Iranian soldiers have been seen down there.
Yes,
So
they have.
what's really going on?
Tons of
Right?
Chinese. I mean, lots
They
of
want to
Chinese.
squash. They want to. They're doing everything they can to take this place, to take the USA.
Yeah.
Right? And so long as we keep, if the populace keeps falling for these second tier stories, it's going to work. What's going to stop them?
Nothing.
What's going to stop?
And
They've already
obviously,
sold.
we've already sold out to China. I mean, let's face it, China. We have documents. We have money transfers. The head of our entire nation
Yep.
is receiving millions of dollars from the very nation that wants to destroy us and take us over. This is. I mean, if it isn't the T word, I don't know what else to do. I mean, seriously.
The bad part is this: if it's just Biden's family, right, they'll be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. But
it's not just
if
them.
it's everybody, that story is going to turn into something else.
Yep.
How long has Hunter Biden been out there doing stuff like that?
I mean, before.
Why has no one done anything?
Nobody's ever done that in the last 10
years.
Why?
Why?
Because there's more people on the payroll. There's other people getting their palms are being greased. It must be quite extensive.
There you go. You turn over Joe's family, right? You just turned a pancake over while it was still cooking, and you could see all the ingredients in there. They're not going to have that, so they have to make these separations first. That's how they shut people up. They get dirt on them, just like that, on purpose. That's the way the world works.
Don't you think this senator from Kentucky, Comer? I'm concerned that guy won't live. He's the point guy that's exposing all this stuff. He's a senator from. He's a congressman from. From Kentucky.
It's quite bold, isn't it?
It's real bold, and you start wondering, man, he has got to be on somebody. He's got to be a target on somebody. His back has got to have a bullseye on it.
Maybe part of his reason for coming forward was for publicity, because if something happens now, it's going to seal the deal.
Yeah,
right? People are going to know something is terribly wrong. And all of this, Pastor Paul, they're doing all of this for the handover. It's going to be handed.
You're right. They're going to hand us over. I mean, you're exactly right. They're surrounding us. They're invading us. We're giving it away. It's a handover. It's coming.
Yep.
Wow.
It is, unfortunately.
Well, Mike, I mean, you got everything going on. We got, and as you know, you've been talking about all these things tonight. It's been amazing. What do you think next Thursday? By the time we get here next Thursday, what in the world are we going to be dealing with?
I think I'm going to be reassessing some of the earthquakes and volcanism that will take place. I also expect one inbound object within the next 6 days, probably.
Whoa!
To breach our atmosphere. I expect that one too.
One inbound to breach our atmosphere.
One inbound, just one inbound. Now, war is going to be steadily increasing, right? But we have geological problems in
bigger than the war. Yeah,
Pastor, you're talking about a sinkhole.
Yep.
It's going to take a whole city one day.
No,
it's going to take the whole city.
Are you serious?
It's going to take a whole city.
Yes,
it's going to take a whole city. Yes. We have massive
Mike,
problems.
Can you imagine when a sinkhole takes a whole city, what the world's reaction is going to be?
I hope they pay attention. That's what I hope, because that'll be the first of many things that will alter beyond their control. I tell you this: there's no real safe place except Christ. People have to be guided, and I hope their relationship with Christ is based in truth. I hope it's not some fictional relationship, but a functional relationship.
Amen.
Because if they're not guided, Pastor Paul, they can't dodge the hail, right?
Nope.
They can't dodge the fires that will start from inside the earth. That'll
That's
come up
right.
in
That's
various
right.
places. And lots of people are going to have that Pennsylvania problem where the ground is burning from the inside out. They can't dodge that.
Nope.
That's going to require guidance. And so hopefully, hopefully, everybody can get that sound relationship with Christ, because we're really entering into days that will challenge everything we thought we knew about this earth.
Wow. Mike from the world, folks, tonight. Mike, thank you so much for being with us. Really appreciate all your input tonight. It's been fascinating and very enlightening.
God bless you, Pastor Paul. It's always an honor to be here.
Amen. The honor's mine, believe me. God bless you, my brother. Amen. Thank you so much.
All right. God bless.
Bye-bye.